Yes. Right. Well, welcome to a special version of Poetricity Live. We're doing this a month early because I'm not actually around in December. So we're going to do it now. And this is something I started last year, really. It's personally for me, but I thought I might as well extend it to everybody else, which is just really to reflect on the year that's gone, which is not something I had a habit of doing, I must say. But I found it very helpful once I started doing it. It's just because I generally find that sometimes you think you know what the year has been like, but sometimes you're under the influence of the latest thing that has happened in the year and not the full context of the whole year. So I just thought it's a wonderful experience. And by recording it, obviously, then we can gift it to other people and they can follow it themselves and do their own reflection offline. Or you can even go back to this and redo it again, because as you'll find, once you start, the ideas start flowing and thought starts coming, you realize that there's more that could come out. So that's kind of what we're doing today. Uh, Bear with me. There we go. You all know who I am, so I'm not going to spend time trying to introduce myself. Here's the information here. Uh, I do recommend that you have something to write with because we're going to be reflecting. So might be a good opportunity to grab yourself something to write with if you don't have one already, because we will be writing. Uh, and basically, what we're going to be doing today, the focus is to close out 2024 with reflection, create something of a poetic portrait of what our year has been like, and in the process of contemplating our journey, that's how that comes about. And the idea being, okay, how can I support you if you want to continue that journey? So that's kind of what that's about. We're all poets. And what I mean by that is when I mention we're going to do a poetic poet, some people might start going, oh, I'm not a poet, how can I do that? But really, poetry is all whatever comes from your heart is poetry in my books. Um, and the other day, actually, I got a pleasant surprise seeing a work from Ian, actually, which is quite cool. I liked it. You're hiding a lot of talents there, eh, Mr. Mr. Herbert. Hi, Maria.
Hello, Frank.
Hi,
Hi, Judy. Hi,
lovely to
everyone.
lovely to have you here. Um, right. So we're going to use a closed framework. Those who know me know I love frameworks. And this one's called Close, celebrating what's come up in our lives, what have we learned, what are the opportunities that came our way, what are the surprises that we experienced in the year, and what are the things that ended that sometimes we look, how do we reframe looking at things that have ended and what new things might come from that. Um, so the idea is we do each section and you do some writing, reflective writing from each section. At the end, we then end up with something that might look like a poetic portrait or something you could create a poetic portrait from. Um, I will provide the prompts, so that will help you to kind of think of what you can do. Feel free to add whatever comes to you. Stuff doesn't need to rhyme, and only share what you're comfortable with. So again, nobody's going to be under any compulsion to share what you don't want to share, because some of this stuff might be very private, very personal. But it's just to give you that space to reflect, really. So my encouragement is don't overthink anything. Or does it look right? Does it feel, just whatever. You always want to be a flow of consciousness. Just whatever comes to you, just write it and don't judge it. And then you can always go back.
Frank,
Sorry?
Frank, if I may, just a disclosure.
Yeah.
I am actually in the middle of work, so I'm actually just listening to in today. I can't do much writing as I'm in the middle of work.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Not a problem. Okay. So, right. So this list here is really for those who will be doing this offline. These are some of the preps you could have done that makes this easier. But for those who are here, if you want to enrich what you've done and your reflections, go back and look at your calendar events. I do that, and really I was surprised. Oh, I did that. I did that. Oh, that happened. If you use your calendar that way, obviously, your inbox, sent items, that just gives you understanding, a recollection of things you've done, people you've communicated with, what it's been about, and all these things jog you. If you keep a regular journal, notes, again, you can go back over those. Uh, Check your Kindle, Audible, podcast libraries. Oh, these are the things I've listened to. What did I learn from them? Uh, things like that. Podcast, films, TV series that stayed with you, stayed in your mind. What did you learn from them? How did it impact you? And then you can speak to family members, friends, colleagues, just to say, how have you encountered me this year? Yeah, come on, let's talk about what's really been great for us this year and stuff like that. So these are all ways in which you can enrich this whole reflection piece, basically, offline. Any questions so far? Actually, I realize I've kind of done a lot of talking there. No? Okay. So this is the first thing. If this year were a book or movie, if a book or movie were made about this year in your life, what title would you give it? And to help you, I've got some prompts, I believe. So it could be a metaphor, like, animal or weather or object. What is your most, hello, Muriel. What's your most prevalent emotion? What's your most significant event? What's the most common theme about this year? What has this year been about for you? So you missed this bit, Mira. You're going to need something to write with. We're reflecting on the year, and we're saying if this year, if a book or a movie were made about this year in your life, what title would you give it? So in other words, it's like finding a title that just sums up your year. It could be a metaphor about animal, weather, objects, most prevalent emotion, most significant event, or most common theme. I just realized I'm going to need a timer, aren't I? So I'm going to go old school on this one and do it on my phone. If I'd been more prepared, I could have done it on the computer. But then that's just more screens to take care of. So, all right.
I'm sorry I'm late. If
That's
my
okay.
thing is off, it's because I'm a bit like the virgins. I didn't put oil in the thing. So sorry, I'm not charged up, but I'll do my best to
Yes.
stay.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm going to give you a minute to think up this one. And while you're doing it, I'll do mine as well. Who would like to share what's come up for you in terms of how you framed this year?
I can start if
Yeah, go on there.
okay. I actually have three sentences, and I kind of like the last one better, but I'll read through all of them
Sure.
quickly. So first one, rise, rise, rise again.
Woo, I like that.
Second one is starving the wolves.
That's interesting.
And third one is singing shadows away.
Singing shadows away. That is so intriguing. That do you mind sharing a bit more about that if it's not too personal?
Yeah, the third one.
Yeah.
Singing. Yeah. It's ever since I was a kid, I've been a singer, but mostly in choirs and sometimes taking solo,
Mm,
lessons and all that. And I had to stop it at some point because it was too overwhelming to my physique. So I
mm,
just wasn't well enough.
mm,
It was right after my mom's death that I kind of quit the last choir. And this year I had so many struggles that I decided to go back to my singing lessons. And now I find myself singing every day.
mm,
And I've never done that before if I haven't had an agenda. And that's kind of my way of dealing with trauma, kind of where I was. So I feel that when I sing, it comes from the heart, it comes from the soul. And then, whoever is trying to sabotage my life they cannot stop, that they can't stop me, they can't stop my voice, and they cannot stop the light that comes out with the song. So it was kind of a phrase that we joked about with a friend of mine, because he just said, well, keep on singing the shadows away,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that one. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? Right. Okay. I'm gonna move.
Oh,
Yeah, go on.
my book title would be Arise and Show Up.
Arise and show up. It's
That
interesting
would,
that theme was coming there, isn't it? Arise
yeah,
and show up.
that would be my main title. My subtitles would be Relax, Let Go, and Watch It Happen.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Watch it happen. You guys are poetic already. You're poetic already.
Mm.
Oh, and this is really what we're doing here is traveling inside. I'll read this one out just for reflection. Learning about all things new, seeing the things I never knew, changing and evolving in the sinew of my mind. I'm no longer the one that you knew before this information went in, showing up a different being, all because of what's new. I read that again, traveling inside. Learning about all things new, seeing the things I never knew, changing and evolving in the sinew of my mind. I'm no longer the one that you knew before this information went in, showing up a different being, all because of what's new. And the invitation there really is to say, do you realize how transformed you have been this year? And that's what we're trying to unfold, is because of all the things you've engaged with, all the things you've interacted with, all the things you've given and received, means that you were not the same person who started 2024. Right. I think what I'm going to do actually is just put these through. Going a step too far there. The more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is life to celebrate. I read this piece, mundane. Mundane or magical? Who gets to decide which label it wears, how regal it looks when it appears, gracing the catwalk of your mind with celebrations to match? I'm going to read that again. Mundane. Mundane or magical? Who gets to decide which label it wears, how regal it looks when it appears, gracing the catwalk of my mind with celebrations to match? And I just want to invite really just quick comments on this. Well, what's evoked when you kind of see these together? What are you?
To me, actually, it brings up a thought I had yesterday when I was walking through shops.
Mm,
It's that old phrase, like one man's treasure is another man's trash, or something like
mm,
that. And that kind of came up when I have a very dear person to me going through a big separation,
mm,
and selecting through items that were very important to her, whereas in my eyes I thought, like, how is that important to her, whereas another item that I would have selected was not. And I this poem sort of captures that we need to be able to celebrate the things that we appreciate, and sometimes they're not what the other person would understand, or they don't know your thought process, they don't know how much effort, for example, you made for something. So it's really up to us to celebrate what we've done and achieved.
I love
I
that.
like that. I really like that, Frank, because I just coming out of a session with a client a while ago, and
Mm,
this person 3 weeks ago in their room not coming out, not eating, not taking a shower. And when I saw them today, I almost threw on the table and jumped and screamed and did somersaults, all because I said to her, "This is my celebration of you coming out today."
Mm.
Because 3 weeks ago, and she said to me, "I really appreciate this session because this week has been a rough week for me. And the session right now, I'm just feeling so light. I'm feeling so refreshed. I'm feeling so revived. And I'm just thinking, boy, it's so important that we make excitement over small wins, because these are the things that sometimes we say, oh, it's just a small win. But as I said to her, there's nothing called a small win, because there are persons still at home, still in bed, still not showering, and here you are at my desk today. So I just thought of it a while ago.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I love when the universe does this stuff. It's like, yeah, you can't make it up. This stuff is just showing up in your lives, and you're having places to relate and link to it. And Maria had it nailed when she said it's really individual. Like you, Ian, deciding to celebrate that. And I'm sure that was infectious within the context of that relationship, because it makes that person go, wow, somebody thinks enough of me to celebrate the fact that there's a transformation in how I'm showing up. And really that's our idea, is that you get to decide what's important and what's the celebration for 2024. So the prompt here is, what are you choosing to celebrate about 2024? What are the things that happen in 2024 that you are choosing as special to celebrate?
Can I have a little word?
Of course you may, my dear. That's why you're here.
Oh, well, I'm just so amazed at all the other people speaking. I'm thinking, well, that's just amazing. But that was actually going to be the title of my book, and then I changed it to God's Special Moments, and I'm still expecting more. So I don't know how we could put that in the title. But when Maria spoke about singing,
Mm.
when I was a child, I had a stammer, but I learned that I could sing without stammering. And that really was a blessing. And also, I'm thinking back to when my husband had Alzheimer's. The singing was just the answer. It was just wonderful. But all the other titles, and actually, what Herbert was saying, on a Monday we run a thing. It's okay not to be okay, because many people can't get out of bed and they can't get on with their lives. But we have a drop in at the church, and we say it's okay not to be okay. So they come if they don't feel okay, but we pray that they go away feeling okay. So that's what it's called. So Herbert, I celebrate that yeah, people need encouragement to know that we care, that they turn up.
Yes.
And the lady that started Renew, it's called Renew W5 at our place, she herself went through dark depression, and she actually started these groups all over the place, and yeah, even Australia. And she said, it's okay not to be okay, but we need to remember that we need to celebrate each other. And so we as hosts just turn up. She said, just turn up for the people, just turn up. And,
Yeah,
anyway,
that's beautiful.
sorry, I'm ranting and raving here. What else?
No, you're not raving. You're just speaking.
I'm just, Claudette, you spoke arise and show up, and that reminded me of our Renew space that we have on a Monday. Just arise and show up. So it's all coming together.
Indeed.
So you're all encouraging me. I might change the title of my book as we go along.
Well, we get an opportunity to do that at the end, actually, for that very reason. You get an opportunity to come. Yeah.
Well, was it Marie that said one man's treasure is another man's trash? Well,
Yes.
I'm going through my husband's, what I would have called his treasures for 30 odd years. And I'm thinking, do I throw this, or do I keep this, or what do I? And then I think, well, my grandchildren are going to say, we're not interested in this. So to them, it would probably, I don't want to use the word trash to them, but it wouldn't be important. So, but it's important to me. So, yeah.
Indeed. I love how it all comes together, isn't it? Thanks for sharing that, Muriel. Right. So you're going to start your latest prompt. What are you choosing to celebrate? I give you 2 minutes. What are you choosing to celebrate in 2024? Great achievement that you're proud of, significant thing that you completed that you think you couldn't, significant thing you did in service of others, something, event, or person or mentor that you're most grateful for. So what are you choosing to celebrate about 2024?
Can I say
Yeah, sure.
I'm choosing to celebrate. I'm choosing to celebrate that God gave me the strength, the breath, the health to be present at my daughter's wedding
Oh, that's beautiful.
this year.
Yeah, wow, lovely.
Because I could have been elsewhere.
Mm.
Let's put it that way.
No, I hear you.
Mm. I guess I just celebrate that I'm able to get up every day myself at 78 and get on with what I have to do and just thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever's in store, I'm ready for it. Well, with his help.
Yes. With his help,
Yeah.
we can achieve so much.
Yeah.
I think if someone had asked, some months ago, what I would celebrate, I seriously could not have thought anything. So I'm just very grateful that I'm at this position that my husband said that I hope that you will get over
Mm-hmm.
the crisis and you'll be able to feel that this was the right thing to happen in your life.
Mm.
And I'm now at that stage, and I seriously didn't think I would get there this year at all. So I'm just very grateful that I am, and now I have the time to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy for Claudette having that chance to
Okay.
be at the wedding, because these are the things that I see that are most important, rather than, just doing things that I want, but doing things for others.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Well done. Yeah.
I love that.
I think for me, it's what I would call mental metamorphosis. The wind of change
I
is
like that.
beginning to clear.
Okay. Would you care to elaborate maybe a bit more?
Okay, we are a product of our environment,
Mm,
and we're a product of the family from which we came. And I've had the most amazing family ever.
mm,
And while my parents did as much as they could,
mm,
there was a lot of limitations in terms of some aspect of how they were.
mm-hmm,
And having come to the UK and integrating with persons, and you're hearing some things that initially might have sounded a bit weird,
mm,
strange, and yet still something deeply inside you is resonating and saying, that's it. That's what you have thought about. That seemed a bit crazy.
mm.
And you have embraced it. And having embraced it, all of a sudden, you are realizing, oh, good heavens, I am so much more than what I thought I was.
Ah,
So
yes.
the mind starts to embrace things that would seem almost impossible.
I understand. Right. I get you. Thank you very much for sharing that. Right. I'm conscious of time because we've got a few more to go for. But here are just a few prompts to help you for 2025. I will do a open 2025 session in January because, as I say, I'm not here in December. But it's the idea of the foundation of hope, positive expectation, and trust in the universe has your back. So it's kind of like just as it did in 2024, 2025 is in his hands as well. Um, and and don't worry, I will mail these out, so it's fine. Right. Okay. So this piece is called Squiggly. The lines of our lives are rarely ever straight. I would say they are partial to taking a squiggly trajectory, sorry, as we crisscross this complex human dynamic, trying, failing, learning, and trying again, taking this from that, leaving that for this, experiencing hit and miss, followed by miss, ascending the heights, climbing out from the lows. We are still here, ready for another day, moving forward, heroes of the squiggly world we live in. I'll read that again, squiggly. The lines of our lives are rarely ever straight. I would say they are partial to taking a squiggly directory. As we crisscross this complex human dynamic, trying, failing, learning, and trying again, taking this from that, leaving that for this, experiencing hit followed by miss, ascending the heights, climbing out from the lows, we are still here, ready for another day, moving forward, heroes of the squiggly world we live in. And again, just very quickly, what comes to mind as you hear that?
Life does not happen in a straight line.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Anything else?
I just really love that squiggly world thing because that's how I feel. Like, especially this year, I kind of wake up thinking, who am I today? And to what kind of a life am I waking up to?
I love that.
Yeah, so it's exactly that.
I love that. And this art piece here is actually from an artist I met when I went to the other art fair in October.
I like
Uh,
the picture. It's nice.
yeah, and basically that's just her artwork. She just does squigglies basically. And I just thought that's just brilliant for this piece, and with her permission is able to use it. And that's her handle there if anybody wants to check her out. But yeah, it's the reality, and I think what the most frustrating thing about this is the mind insists in thinking in straight lines, whereas the reality of life is squiggly. So that can cause its own emotional pressure of being disappointed from an expectation, because when you look at something, anticipate something, the mind predicts it goes in a straight line. But life is not like that, and I think it's just holding that loosely and recognizing that it's squiggly and it's okay. And that's why I love what Maria was saying there about, yeah, what world am I waking up to today? What's going to happen today? Don't know, but we'll face it. We'll face it. Right. So this prompt is about learning. So what have you learned? I love that quote. Never stop learning because life never stops teaching. What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about others? Any new skill you've acquired, something you've learned from a mentor.
Well, Frank, we've learned a lot from you.
Thank you. I've learned a lot from you all too. That's what I love about this space. We learn from each other. Thank you.
This actually reminds me of my oldest sister. Everyone knows that in workplace, when women get over 50, they have like horrible chances of getting new jobs.
Mm.
That's just how it is. So a young woman asked her when she's, studying in this academy, do people still learn after 50? You know, and we just laughed. We were like, you gotta be kidding. So, it's almost like not worth answering. A
But
question
that
like
is
that.
quite a question, actually.
Yeah, but it's to me the learning is like it goes steeper and steeper. The
Yeah.
more you know, the more you're challenged.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel.
It's almost like you learn more and then realize how much you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's okay. We don't need to know everything, but as long as we're learning what we're presented the opportunity to learn.
Well, when you said you don't need to know, it reminded me of my grandson when he was at school. Um, we used to go and collect him from school, and I would say to him, "Well, Malachi, how was today? How was today at school?" He would say, "You don't need to know," but he wasn't being rude. It was just he didn't want to tell me what had happened, so I didn't need to know. But I think when we get older, sometimes we don't think we're older, but as a lady said once, she didn't think she was older, but when she collapsed in a car park once and she heard this young man on his phone saying, "There's an elderly lady here, she's just fallen," she realized he was, no, she thought, what a coincidence, somebody else has fallen as well. It was her.
You are such the comedian,
It's
man.
so funny. I love you. Jeez.
So she
Who's
didn't
he calling
realize.
elderly lady?
But I would like to learn to swim. And I'm 78 and I haven't got the confidence. So my children, my grandchildren tried to teach me with rubber rings, but I wouldn't let my feet off the ground. So I held on to the edge. So, but I'll keep on dreaming like your password is dream. Dream on.
It is most definitely possible. I learned to swim in my 30s, I believe.
Did you?
Yeah, I could because where I come from is like I'm not surrounded by water, so swimming was not a thing. But then when I went to my wife is from Grenada, I went to the Caribbean and there was a whole beach in front of me. I couldn't swim. I thought we got to fix this, so I just went to get lessons. Basically, my determination was the next time I go there, I am swimming. So I was the only guy in my goggles, by the way, swimming up and down the Grenada's beach. I was like, yeah, man.
Granan's speech is something else. My husband rang me from there when he was because he was on the carnival with the police at Notting
Okay,
Hill,
okay,
and they sent him there for to see how the carnival was policed in Trinidad. But then he went over to Grenada and he rang me from Grenada, Granan's speech. He said, "Oh, you'd love it here. You'd really love it here." I thought, yes, I would love it here. I'm sitting here with 2 feet of snow with two little children.
yeah. Grenada's beach is beautiful. White sand. Yeah, it is one of the best beaches in the world, I reckon. But anyway, we digress somewhat. But yes, so so this is an opportunity to just reflect on what you learned in 2024. Either something you learned how to do, something you learned about yourself or about others, uh, or something you learned from someone else.
I would say one of the things that I've learnt in 2024 is to be still and observe what my mind is doing
Mm,
and realizing that I don't have to engage with every thought that comes through my mind. I can just simply allow them to go by.
yeah, that is powerful actually.
Because what we focus on, you get more of.
Yeah,
So if you focus on something negative, a negative thought, you're going to get more of that. You're going to be anxious and all sorts of stuff. So being able to observe and see what's happening has been very helpful to me in 2024.
yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Always, yeah, it gladdens my heart to hear things like that because that if there was one thing I wanted to leave the earth and leave people with is that if you learn to be the observer of thoughts and recognize that you are not your thoughts and you create that space between you and thought and become the witness of it, what that does to your quality of life is just beyond what you can describe to anybody. Because a lot of a lot of suffering we have, and not necessarily physical suffering, although I do appreciate that some people do have physical suffering. But for most of us, the energy drain and the poor quality of life we have more to do with our thoughts than anything else. And if we just learned to do what you've just described there, that would make such a wonderful difference. Anybody else before we move on to the next one? I'm cautious we need to move on actually. So I'm going to increase the pace slightly just so we can get to the end and have something to work with. Right. This is called the Yes Game, and this was a colleague of mine actually, who's a coach as well, mentioned this to me, and that this poem here motivated me writing the dream book. One of the reasons I wrote the dream book. How many years ago is that now? The Yes Game. A friend taught me this game. Would you like to play? So simple, anyone can. For every new chance you are given, just open your mouth and say yes, even when your heart is beating so hard you favor retreating. Pay it no mind and keep advancing. The very next step is all it takes. Before you know it, you'll be celebrating, ticking another first off your list, made only possible because you said yes. In case you're wondering what comes next, you probably guessed from the name of the game. You just say yes the very next chance you get. You may be pondering where does it end, when you finally have no choice but to say no. So just very quickly, what comes to you when you hear that?
I mean, to me, that's my whole life's lesson. I'm I'm at the last line, you know, and my husband keeps telling me, you gotta start saying no. It's a friend of mine has a name for it, but it's like an opportunity driven um mental state
Mm,
where you want to say yes and you do it, even though you're not aware of the consequences.
mm,
So,
I like that. And that just shows how many angles you can come at this from. And then
yeah,
that's why it makes sure that it doesn't just say, oh, well, you say yes to everything and that's all there is to be said about it. You've got to also know when to say no. Um, the framing of this piece really is that those when you have those opportunities to do something that could stretch you. So it's more about an invitation out of your comfort zone. And also this whole idea that your mind sometimes, if it can't work out how it's going to happen, it wants to say no, just because it can't work out how it's going to happen. But actually, there is a power in the yes of saying we'll say yes and we'll figure it out. So that kind of is part of the framing. But I completely take your point. You need to also know how to say no.
yeah, I love challenges, you know. That's where it comes from.
Anybody else on this quickly before we move on?
I've just put down being bold and courageous.
I like that. Sometimes
Because
that's all it
you
takes.
do you do need to be bold and courageous to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
if you got a nice warm bed, you're lying in your nice warm bed with your electric blanket. Who wants to get up and go outside? Who wants to get up and go outside and go to the bus stop? Or, or go and clean the car so you can start it up and everything. Who wants to go and do that?
no, I
So you
hear that.
need
I definitely do hear that.
What's going through my thoughts is muscles are built through resistance, whether
I
it's
like
lifting a
that.
metal bar or stretching a piece of rubber.
Yeah,
So persons want what you call a summer body, or
yeah,
the guys want a six packs. It can be achieved, but remember the process.
right. I like that. And interesting enough, actually, the poem I had for this originally had something to do with that. I just switched it out at the last minute. It's called Human Design. The idea that someone is going, where are my muscles? And they're sitting on the sofa. It's like, well, sorry, muscles, muscles don't come. It don't work that way.
Uh,
You need to go work it. You need to go work it. Um, so the prompt here then is what opportunities in 2024 did you say yes to and why? What opportunities did you say no to? So this is to Maria's point and why. What significant risk did you take that you never knew whether would work out?
yeah, trust the process.
Yeah. So
The, the, the,
I give you 2 minutes to come up with opportunities that came your way in 2024.
Well, I think what comes to mind the opportunity of you doing this and us discussing because it broadened my mind.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm glad it did. We've enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
You brighten our faces.
I was a bit worried about Herbert, yes, a few minutes ago because he disappeared. I thought he'd had enough.
No, the phone started overheating.
I love that. I was over here.
I also think that, what you're built and this platform, Frank, that you're giving it's one of the few ones I've actually kept.
Is it?
Yes. I said no to almost everything. I've skipped events, skipped everything. I haven't been on my PC, but this has been an important reflection and hearing from others what you're going through and kind of the squiggly world thing,
Hmm.
It's learning to live in that space, and I think you do it very well. You describe it very well, and I love
Thank
Yeah.
that.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful feedback. Appreciate it. All right.
The squiggly, the issue of the squiggly keep coming back again.
Quickly.
Um, a while ago, I said, trust the process.
Mm.
You are more than you think you are.
Yeah.
I was offered a job, and when I was offered a job,
Mm.
it seemed so mountainous. I mean, to some extent, you would have believed that no, that's not for you. But I
Yeah.
trusted the process, and
Mhm.
I can proudly say today that I am the top person in my department with what I'm doing. Even though at first I thought that was a too much for me.
That's
Trust the
amazing.
process.
I love that. And this is really what this quote says, isn't it? If someone offers you an amazing opportunity, but you're not sure you can do it, say yes and learn how to do it later. No, I hear that. I love that. I really do. It's so precious to have real life stories around this because it's one thing to write things up and it could seem like theory, but when you all bring your real life stories to it, it's like, yes, it is real. This is real. Right. This piece is called Surprise. Approach every moment with curiosity in the unfolding of the mystery, willing to be surprised by what the next moment brings. Learn, listen, trust, and decide. Here, life in the moment is lived. I'll read that again. Surprise. Approach every moment with curiosity in the unfolding of the mystery, willing to be surprised by what the next moment brings. Learn, listen, trust, and decide. Here, life in the moment is lived. And I want to say, actually, reading that just reminds me of exactly what Maria said at the beginning. I wake up and go, what surprises is this day going to have for me? So it's just brilliant. What comes to mind when you hear that quickly?
And I think that the word listen, actually, there is the key to myself
I
is
like
exactly that, because you don't know what's coming and where it's coming from.
it.
So it's very important to observe before you jump in,
Right.
And that's what I want to learn to be better at as
And
well.
that links to the when to say no, when to say yes piece as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
Brilliant. All right. So our next point is surprises. Life is full of surprises, isn't it? Or is it? So what unexpected things, surprises, did you experience in 2024? Unexpected benefits, unexpected challenges, serendipity being sequence of events that you could not have predicted or controlled, but turned out in a way that you didn't even imagine it could be, and you thought, well, that couldn't have been me. Something else is going on here. That's the idea behind serendipity. Situations outside control, a way in which you surprised yourself as well. There was a nice laugh there, Herbert. Was that you? What was that you, Herbert, laughing there? Share with us. What's
Yeah. Listen, I am just blown away by the awesomeness of the God that we serve.
right?
And when we read Ephesians 3, verse 20, unto him who is able to do far more exceedingly, I must say that I have gotten a little taste of it, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely awesome. Awesome. Just awesome.
I like that. I like that idea of awe.
You have, this is the picture I want to paint. You have a shovel
Yeah.
given to people. God comes with a dumper truck and he pours out.
I like
You can't outgive.
dumper truck. Dumper truck of blessings. I could get used to that. I could get used to that.
Yeah, I have
Um,
a friend. I have a friend. She talks about blessing bombs. She always
Wow.
bless-
I love that.
but it reminds me, Herbert, of whenever the Lord was, throwing out the seed onto stony ground or to soft ground. But it was the abundance of the sower that he was talking about. And I
yeah.
always imagine it's a big, big bag on his side, and he's just chucking the seed and chucking the seed for others to learn. So
Yeah. And
it's the abundance, the abundance.
yeah, and extending that, hopefully it finds soft ground in us to take root and germinate.
Yes. Yeah. So
And that's part of what the reflective piece does for us when we come to celebrate, to appreciate, and then we open more space for more of that in us with surprises.
And I think a lot of blessings are disguised.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't appear as blessings when you get them. It's just a huge transformation leap.
Mm.
And it's not until later you realize this was a good thing.
Yeah, you're right. It's not always clear up front, which again is why we're looking back and saying, okay, what's occurred to you? And that's what the unexpected challenge is about. You got a challenge you weren't expecting, but what came from that? What did you learn? So all these are interrelated in some ways. We're talking about celebrations, learnings, opportunities. Now we're talking about surprises.
Well, I think one of the things. Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. No,
Go
you
ahead.
go ahead.
I
No,
was just
Go
gonna. I was just gonna
mine.
say.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that one of the things I've been surprised about this year is I was able to get together a group of residents
Mm,
to create a community garden,
mm,
wow.
and
Lovely.
it has attracted so much attention.
mm,
I mean, even this week I got a wonderful email, thanks, saying how much that part of where I live has been uplifted.
mm,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Wow.
I even got support from some of the shops,
Oh,
donations in
mm.
resources, just by going and saying to them what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And I know that even though we've got a community garden not far from where I live, it's a very small one, but very pretty.
Mm,
And for months and months, I was just walking past this garden. I used to always just stop and look and thinking, I'd love to do something like that
mm,
nearer to where I live. And that's all it was. It was just, I love to do something like that. I love to do something like that, but never really thought in my wildest dreams that
mm,
I could actually do something to pull it off,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And I was just so surprised by how open some of the residents have been.
Mm,
And I said to one of the reasons I think God plays a strong part in this, because in my early days when I came out of hospital, I had to go out in my garden because what happened to me happened in my garden. So I had to face the fear
mm,
of being in my garden.
mm,
With my family and friends, they used to come and sit outside in my garden, and they used to bring flowers, and they used to help me to plant flowers.
mm,
And to me, that was part of my healing. That was part of my healing, the planting of the flowers. So I thought something just said to me, well, if we put a community garden in the community, maybe there's going to be some people out there that would just stand and look at the flowers and they'll just receive healing from God.
mm,
So it was funny that one of the ladies that I approached to help, she too had been ill,
Mm.
and her mother spent a lot of time with her in her garden.
Wow.
And so she received healing through being with nature and planting flowers. So she was so happy to
Wow.
come on board.
Amazing.
So it's been absolutely wonderful. But one of the things I've realized about myself, it was really good because I was able to just allow all those involved to bring their skills and their experiences to bear. And so everybody was allowed to bring, it wasn't like, oh, it's my idea, it's my garden, or
Mm.
follow me, I'm the leader.
Mm.
Everybody showed up as they were, and we just all brought what skills and experiences we had to create that garden that is so effective. Every parcel, we've even had people leave notes outside. We've
Mm.
had people, we've even gone out there, new plants are out there, you
Wow.
know. So,
Wow.
you
Yeah,
know,
that is fantastic, Claudia.
all I can say, it can only be God.
Yeah.
It can only be God.
But it's interesting though, isn't it? All the things we've been talking about, an opportunity shows up. You don't know how it's going to happen. You take the next first step, then you take the next step. Also, it reminds me some of what you said there about the leadership framework we did, where we were talking about exactly what you described there.
Yeah.
How do you have leadership that allows other people to shine and other people to
Yeah.
come to space? And it's lovely that that how you run that is really demonstrating that. It's really pulling that out and the surprise of it. And that's why I always say to people, when your mind is trying to predict whether something is possible or not, it's not qualified because it doesn't know all those things that could happen that it can't yet see, which is why it's a surprise. Did you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that is beautiful. Thanks you so much for sharing. And the idea of healing and the bravery and the courage to go back to where you experienced something that appeared negative. That's amazing. That's
It's
amazing.
wonderful.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much for sharing that.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. I'm conscious of time and I've got to call it now. We're most likely going to go slightly over, but this is good work. Emergence. Darkness seems all consuming till the light appears. Chaos seems pervasive till from it order arises. Death seems so final till new life emerges. I'll read that again. Emergence. Darkness seems all consuming till the light appears. Chaos seems pervasive till from it order arises. Death seems so final till new life emerges. Just quickly, what's coming to people on that one?
The only words that I can think of is keep hope alive.
I like that. I like that. All is not as it seems is what I'm hearing from the back of that.
That reminds me of the Genesis effect.
Yeah, God.
Yeah.
When God said, let there be light, and there was light.
There was light. But when you see darkness, you don't think of the possibility of light. But then what brings the
Yeah.
light?
And then when it says chaos seems pervasive till from it order arises.
Yeah,
And there was chaos and God brought order.
there was order. And this is the thing. And it feels like everything was dead, but then life emerged, right?
Yeah.
And this is the point for us. We are now the one who can bring light into situations. Your garden bringing light to the environment in this
Yeah.
place. The garden probably looked people. So not anybody would have seen the potential of that place, but in your imagination, you could see how this could be beautiful, right? So then order arises from the dream and the vision that you have about it. And then it looks like the ground is not up to much until you plant something in it and give it the opportunity. And even when you plant it, it takes a while. It looks like, is it going to come up? And then it just eventually starts rising from the ground. And then you see that new life come. Yeah. And how that which is dead that went into the earth feeds and supports that which is alive that is coming out because they're all one. And again, the challenge here is to not see duality, but to see how they're just part of the cycle. That's the invitation.
Yeah, I see light being on the same spectrum.
Mm.
So what appears dark is actually darker light.
Mm.
So there's, there shouldn't be any fear because we're just moving to different parts of the same spectrum.
And that's the invitation, because what I'm actually calling out for the E, which is the final piece. So it's to help you reflect on endings, things that when they ended seem sad, but ultimately you can look beyond it and say, okay, what does that make space for? What is to come to replace that which is gone? Not replace it in as be like it, but open the door and make space for something to come. Because life is constantly on that cycle. So we're talking of endings that made away, aspect or phases of your life that came to an end, relationships that came to an end, person or thing you lost, a way in which you grieved, anything that comes in its or their place.
I've had a lot of endings this year, but I never see them as endings.
Mm.
I see them as a place of another, a transformation to another type of connection. So when a person passes away, it's tough and I grieve, but I also see it as a way to create a higher connection to that person. So it's a hard experience, but those experiences are also ways for my mind to start seeing it in another way.
Thanks for sharing that, which is the invitation here, really. That exactly is the invitation here. It's that it's hard. Nobody wants to deny that. Nobody should ever deny that. But let's open to the possibility that this is the continuation. There's something beyond that. There's something we can reach to.
Yeah.
I suppose, sorry.
No, go on.
One of the things of the endings this year was having to come to terms with my son moving to another city. And I really didn't get time to really think about it before it happened. It kind of happened so fast, and I think I was caught in a whirlwind of it that it really unsettles me for a little while. To the point where I just didn't even want to be at home because I could just, there was no noise in his room anymore. There wasn't that "Hi, Mom" voice coming from the dining room. You know what I mean? Or there was certain things that he would do that I wouldn't do. Like, even like things in the garden he would do that I couldn't manage to do. So there's so many different things that reminded me that he's not there anymore. But over time, when I saw how settled he became, when I saw him taking opportunities that came his way and how happy he was, that painful feeling of loss just subsided. And I just felt I feel so jubilant and so proud of him.
I love that. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing that. That is just
I love that picture.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it just shows,
because
and that was
what
very
came to my
poetic, by the
thoughts,
way.
the thought that came to my mind with that was, as you were talking, is that yes, you may have lost a caterpillar, but you know of a butterfly,
I
beautiful
like that.
colored wings.
Yeah,
I like
that's a good
that.
one.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And the other thing to bear in mind here is that this in itself goes back to the framework called space, where we talked about the mind. So the mind is framing it one way because of a certain focus. But then when you end up at a different focus, a different perspective, the same set of circumstances feels completely different. But yet at some point, our mind will tell us that because of this circumstance, you can't afford to experience it any other way. Therefore, telling you the circumstance is responsible for how you're feeling. But it's your relationship to the circumstance and what part of the circumstance you're focusing on that creates your experience of it. And the other thing I want to acknowledge in what Claudette says is sometimes it takes a curve of time in which for that to transition. So it again, not saying shut down all the feelings because it's not positive and try and make it positive, but it's recognize that this too can evolve, this too can move on, and give it space for that to happen and be open to that possibility of how else can I look at this to experience it differently. Beautiful. So, anybody else with endings?
It hasn't ended yet.
No, it hasn't. It's nearly, I do apologize. This is running longer than normal, but it is a special one. And I understand if you need to leave, but I think we should do it justice by bringing it to some conclusion of sorts. Right. Okay. So this is what I was saying to you earlier on, Muriel. That we have the opportunity, having had these reflections, to see, do we want to change the title of our year based on the reflections we've had? Is there anything we'll change about it? So we may keep some of it, change some of it. Um,
I'm keeping mine the same because I'm expecting God's special moments all the time.
I love that.
There's a little plaque on my wall. It says, if I can read it with my eyes, life is not measured by the breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So does anybody else want to change the title?
I think I'm just gonna keep on singing.
Yes,
Keep on
indeed.
singing.
Why
Yeah,
not?
become better at it so that the shadows go further.
Yes,
We'll see
indeed.
you. We'll see you on Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Yeah, that will me go. Oh, I know her. I know her. My moment of fame. I know her. The
I'm not
multi-talented Maria.
I'm not changing my title. I will keep arising and shining and showing
Oh, I
up
love
and
that.
showing up.
I love that. Okay, so my final invitation is, has anybody got a poetic rendering of what they've discovered about 2024? So just to help you, I'll go through it again. All right. So we talked about celebrations. What are you celebrating? What are you learning? What opportunities did you experience? What surprises came about? And what endings and what made way from those endings? So these are your prompts. Celebrations that made me go hooray. Then you actually list what that is. Learnings that came to stay. You list what that is. Opportunities that came my way. You list what that is. Surprises that came to play. You list what that is. Endings that made a way. You list what that is. And then you should have 5 stanzas or verses or whatever they call it. Doesn't have to be long, by the way. So let me see.
I have a short poem because I write on Instagram every day. So
Yeah, go on.
so I'll leave the just read it quickly. The last of the sunlight, so early it leaves us. The wind picks up and the footprints disappear under the heavy snow. The journey is but a wing stroke of a bird, here now, soon to leave.
I love that. I love it.
Lovely.
You can almost transpose that over the year, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love it when stuff like that happens. Yeah, that's beautiful. I just realized I haven't shared any of mine, have I? So 2024 was always a year of open doors for me. That's how I saw the year. Um, and 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 I celebrated myself for having the courage to do my first live in-person event. And from doing that, I learned that, yeah, you don't need to know everything. Just start and let things happen. Um, and yeah, opportunities that came my way was to be part of Spark Inside, which was the charity that does coaching in prisons. And it was quite interesting by me saying yes to that opportunity was when I then went to the training where the subject of having my own event came up, where it was used as a practice coaching exercise that gave me the courage to then go and do the event, of which I'm now running an online version of it at the end of the month. So I didn't see that coming when I started the year, not at all. And so I was surprised. So that is a surprise that came to play, if you if you like. Uh, and then as far as an ending is concerned, I was part of a community that gave me the opportunity to run poetry sessions like these within with other coaches, and that played a big part in me building up my confidence to feel that I could do my live event. And you know, they made a decision to do something else, and I just didn't settle with me to go along with them to a new platform that they were going to. So I considered it an ending, but I believe that that ending is making a way for new beginnings and new opportunities, especially in 2025. So that's my one.
Wow, very good.
Yeah. That's a lot. So do we need to challenge you more?
Okay.
I like that. Well, so challenges were always welcome. Right. Anybody else? Anything else to share before we call it? I appreciate this has gone longer than normally would do,
Yeah.
but it's just a
Can
bit.
I just share 4 lines, Frank?
Yeah, go on.
So here's to the new year, both bitter and sweet,
Mm.
a journey of growth where past and futures meet.
Oh, I like that.
With open arms, we embrace what's next, for in every ending, a new chapter sticks.
I like that.
Ah,
I
Very
like
good.
that.
that's good.
'Cause I told you the guy was hiding some talents, right? Didn't I?
My
He's
goodness.
hiding some talents. Anybody
I
else?
would I would say that some of the stuff that we've been doing with you reminds me of a poem by Rumi
Yeah, go on.
called The Guest House.
Mm-hmm.
This being human is a great guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentarily awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if there are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweeps your house, empty of his furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight.
Wow.
The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet all of them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
I love
Wow.
that.
Mm.
Entertaining angels unawares.
I love that. I love that.
And
And
that's
and
cool. That's called The Guest House by Rumi.
yeah, I love that. And that seems like a good place to end this. I
Yeah.
think that's a drop the mic moment, I reckon. Um, And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of you who've been on this journey with me this year. These events are my highlight, really. And I love the wisdom that comes from the group. I love the opportunity to share my work with you and the opportunity to share part of your lives and hear part of your story. I'd like to celebrate everyone because what's beautiful about this space is everyone seems to be open to share things that are vulnerable, things that are personal, and I don't take that for granted because that enriches both all of us here and those who will come to watch this in the future. So thank you so much. I'm grateful that God has kept you for 2024, and it is my hope and it is prayer that in 2025 that you will just move on and go on and explore more and be more and experience life even richer. That is my prayer.
This is what we're going to do. Come on and celebrate this gift of life. We will celebrate. So everybody keep singing like Maria.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, thank
Okay,
you.
then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Frank.
All right, then.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Bye.
much.
All right.
Bye.
I celebrate you, Frank. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I
Thank
celebrate
you
you
so
also.
much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Bye.
much. Bye.